Parshas Korach, want to share a few inyanim, also l'kavod Chodesh Tammuz. So we'll start with the beginning. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahas ben Levi, and Rashi says, Mara Korach lachlik in Moshe. What did Korach see that he wanted to be chaylik on Moshe Rabbeinu? And Rashi brings Niskane al Nesiusay shel Elitzafan ben Uziel, because we know that in Parshas Va'era we're taught in Perek Vav Pasuk Yud Ches that the four children of Kahas were Amram, Yitzhar, Chevron, and Uziel. So Amram's children were Moshe and Aaron became the Kohen, and Moshe was the leader of Klal Yisrael. But after Amram comes Yitzhar, and Korach comes from Yitzhar, but Elitzafan comes from Uziel, the fourth son. So he was very upset that Elitzafan ben Uziel was chosen before him. In addition, he was arguing about the kahuna b'chlal, ubikashtem kam kahuna. He was bothered that Moshe gave Aaron HaKohen the kahuna. But what's interesting is that Dasan and Aviram and Oin ben Peles, all of them were Bnei Reuven, they also joined Korach, and they became the Adas Korach. And the question is, what did they have to do with this? L'chayra, they were not from Shevet Levi B'chlal. They were not even B'chayrim, as the Mefarshim bring down from the pasuk later on in Perek Chavav, pasuk Tes, U'bnei Eliyav, Nemuel, V'dasan V'aviram. Nemuel was older than Dasan and Aviram. They weren't even a B'char, and they surely weren't Kayanim and Leviim. So what were they complaining about? So Rashi says, because since Shevet Levi camped near Kahas, they were on the south side of the Mishkan, therefore we have a klal, oy l'rasha, oy l'shchenoi, that if someone is a rasha, so woe is to him, of course, but also woe is to the shachin. If someone is the shachin of a rasha, then he's going to be mushba l'ra as well. Anyone who has ever had a siyum on Masechta Sukkah, the last Gemara in Sukkah, Daf Nun Vavam and Beis, talks about the story of Miriam Bas Bilga, who did something terrible. She went off the derech and she said terrible things and did terrible things, married a guy. And the Gemara says that the whole mishmar of Bilga was punished on account of Miriam Bas Bilga. And the Gemara says, why should other people get punished? Because of something that one person in their mishmar did. And the Gemara says, Oy l'rasha, oy l'shchenoi. And Rashi brings from the Teiras Kayanim in Parshas Tazriah. The source of it is a Mishnah, really in Negaim, Perek Yud Beis, Mishnah Vav, that talks about the shchenos of a rasha. When someone is a neighbor of a rasha in close proximity to a rasha, he could sometimes get nichlal in the mishpat, in the din of the rasha, and how exactly that works is beyond the scope of this discussion. But one thing that's very relevant to us is that not ba'ofen seguli of being a shachin to a rasha, that you may get punished for his actions, but pashat to be mushpa from the actions of a rasha, that Dasan and Aviram and Oin ben Peles had nothing in this, there was no motivation for themselves. But because they were near Risham, because they were near Korach ben Yitzhar, therefore they were swallowed up, so to speak, and then eventually swallowed up literally, but they were swallowed up in the machlokes of Korach v'Adasai against Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's a very important lesson to walk away with from Parshas Korach, and that is the power of Dasan Aviram, Oin ben Peles, the power of the Sviva that they lived in, the Oil Rasha, Oil Shchenai, on a very practical level. And there's a very big nafkamina. First of all, we daven every day after the Birchas HaShachar, Yehira Tzemel Fanecha, Hashem Elikai V'Elekei Avosai, Shetatzileni Hayom U'V'chol Yom, Hashem should save us from many terrible things, and one thing is a Shachin Ra. So how does Hashem save us from a Shachin Ra? We have to make the decision where we live that it shouldn't be near Shchenim Ra'im. And Hashem should give us the opportunity to be able to buy a house or to rent a house near Shchenim Ta'ivim. And after we buy or rent a house, no Shchenim Ra'im should move in. So we have a tefillah that we shouldn't have a Shachin Ra. And the truth is, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Aleph Mishnah Zayin, says, Nitai ha'arbeli oimer, Harchek mishachin ra. A person should distance himself from a shachin ra. Va'al tischaber l'rasha. Don't be connected to a rasha. And Rabbeinu Yaina, on that Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, says, Kishakainim oisaychrim beis dira. When you buy or rent a house, you should be careful. Tzarich livdaik b'shchenim, because the shchenim set the standard of what a person thinks is mikubal, what a person thinks is accepted. The way they dress, the way they talk, the way they act, that becomes the standard on the block. That becomes the standard in the neighborhood. And if that's the case, the shchenos the neighborhood that a person has, the direct neighbors and the sviva that a person is in, is going to have a direct hashpah on himself, on his kids, and it's not something that's insurmountable. You could choose to be better and on a higher standard than your neighbors, but it just makes it very difficult because the teva of a person is to be mushba from his surroundings. That's the Rambam in Hilchas Deis. The Rambam in Hilchas Deis, Perek Vav, Halacha Aleph says, Derech briyasei shel adam. It's the teva of a person. Liyos nimshach, to be nimshach in his midos, in his maisim, achareyav v'chaveirav, v'noyeg b'minig anshe medinasai, lefichach tzarech adam lehischaber letzadikim. Person should be mischaber to tzadikim, v'leishav eitzach chachamim tamid. He should always be hanging around the tzadikim and the chachamim, k'dei sheyilmad mimaseyim, in order that he should learn from their actions. V'yisrachik min harishoyim ha'olchem b'choshech, k'dei shelo yilmoid mimaseyim, in order that he shouldn't learn from their actions. So basically what we're learning from this story, from the peripheral part of the story, from the Oin ben Pelas and the Dasan and Aviram, is that Oile Rasha, Oile Shechina, you have to be so careful who you hang around with, who you live next to. And we know in the world of real estate, they say that the three most important things in any property that a person is considering buying, the three most important things are location, location, and location. You want to know, is the property worth the value that they're pricing it at? The answer is, depends where it is, depends what community, depends who the neighbors are. So when we add to that expression that location is the most important thing, we have to realize that it's not just in a gashmiistic way, but in a ruchniistic way also. Rabbeinu Yoina is saying that the location, who are the shchenim of this location? That is something that's so important that has to go into a decision when a person moves into the community. What is the standard of the community? When a person davens in a shul, this is something that's very important. There are, in many frum communities, there are choices to daven. You could daven in a yeshiva, you could daven in a shtibel, you could daven in all different types of shuls, Nusach Ashkenaz, Nusach Sfard, kulam ahuvim, kulam berurim. But at the same time, there are certain shuls that tolerate or just are frequented by people who are talking during davening, and they're not davening with Yireh Shamayim. People who are late sonim, and not people who are Ovdei Hashem with Yireh Shamayim. And within the shul itself, to choose where to sit near the people who are davening Erlich, to sit near the people who are davening a longer Shmoneh Esrei, a more sincere davening. That's all part of Toiv LaTzadik, Toiv L'Shchenoi, Oy L'Rasha, Oy L'Shchenoi. Because the people who are around us, the people who we put ourselves in their surrounding, those are the people who are naturally going to be drawn to learn from their standards. I remember when I lived in Eretz Yisrael, I lived in the same building as Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Katz Shlita, one of the Rabbeim in the Mir Yeshiva, and a good chaver of mine from when we were younger. He lived a few steps down from me, and he would come up sometimes at 12:30 at night to ask for a coffee because he ran out of coffee. And I would say to him, at this time in the night, 12:30 at night, a coffee? It's like, yeah, I don't want to go to sleep yet, and I'm tired. So we had another person that was a few steps down from me. A few steps up from me was a Yid, Rav Shaya Kasovsky, who's a Reish Koilel now, and he was always a great masmid and goyin, and he would come home from Koilel at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then he would sit and learn in his house till at least 2, 3 o'clock. And if you went to sleep after you finished learning in that building by 11 o'clock, by 12 o'clock, you felt like a little child who was going to sleep at an early bedtime. The hasmada in that building was so stark and went till so late at night, and the Talmidei Chachamim that were there, it was a hashpah, and it was a standard to live up to. Not that you have to compare yourself to other people and be pressured by it, but at the same time, if that's the standard in the building, so why should I do anything else but learn late at night? Because that seems to be what the minhag hamakam is over here. And if a person is in a building where people are not learning Torah, where people are watching things late at night, where people are not keeping Torah mitzvahs, so even though it's not always in your ability to choose that, where you live, but it's ability to choose to stay within close proximity to chachamim, to tzadikim, to hang around them, to be sure that the chevra that you have is a good chevra, a chevra that you'll be able to learn good things from. And if a person, like we said, has to be in a sviva, in the galus that we're in, if you have to be in a sviva with people that are lower than our standard, we have to be so careful with an extra eye to realize that Dasan and Aviram, Oin ben Pelas, Bnei Reuven, these people were mushpa l'ra from Korach and the rest of his Eidah, and therefore it's important for a person to choose a good location and a good sviva to be around, and to have a watchful eye if there is in a sviva with negative hashbois, to be sure to stay away from that. Another very important lesson that we learn from the story of Korach v'Hadassah is from a fascinating Gemara in Bava Basra, Daf Ayin Daled Amud Aleph. The Gemara in Bava Basra tells us that Rabbi Bar Chana, famous Agarit over there about Rabbi Bar Chana, many different stories that he tells over. And one story he tells that he was going in the Midbar with a certain Arab merchant that was very knowledgeable of what was going on in the Midbar. And the Arab merchant said, I want you to listen in the ground right over here. And Rabbi Bar Chana said, what's in the ground over here? He said, listen and you'll hear. And he listened. And he heard that there were people saying, Moshe v'soyrasai emes v'hein badoin. And Rabbi Chana said, what is this? He said, this is where the Adas Korach was swallowed up. V'tiftach haaretz etzpia. The ground swallowed up Korach v'Adasai. So what happened? With the story of Korach, that they complained and that Hashem made a simon, and Moshe Rabbeinu said the land should open up its mouth, and it opened it up and it swallowed them up. So Zok, the Arab merchant, to Rabbi Bar Chana, this is where they are. And every 30 days they surface and they say, not mamish to the surface where you could see them, but to the point where you could hear them. And they say, Moshe emes, v'sayrasa emes. And we, Korach and the Eidah, are the ones who made up the story, who are the ones who inappropriately complained, but they're makir the emes of Hashem's Torah and Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes. What's interesting is that the Gemara says that they say this every 30 days, and the Rashbam, over there on the side of the Gemara, Bava Basra, Ayin Daled Amud Aleph, says, Kol Rosh Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh. Now, on one hand, it's true that Rosh Chodesh is every 30 days, or every 29, but if it says Kol Shleishim Yom, the Rashbam understood that it means Kol Rosh Chodesh. But what is the Shaychus Rosh Chodesh to this story of Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes? Chazal say that it happened every 30 days. But what's happens that the Rashbam said that it happens on Rosh Chodesh? Why is it appropriate that on Rosh Chodesh, Korach and his Eidah are inspired to say Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes? And I heard once in the name of the Baba Rebbe, Reb Shlomo Halberstam Zatzal, that he said a beautiful insight. And he said specifically on Rosh Chodesh is when Korach and his Eidah get the inspiration to say that they were wrong and Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes. And that's because on Rosh Chodesh we think about the moon. The new Chodesh means a new moon. The Levana is mischadish every month. It goes down until it's nothing in our eyes, and then it sprouts again until it becomes a full Levana. But Rosh Chodesh is the beginning of the month of the Levana, the lunar month. So Rosh Chodesh we think about the Levana. When we think about the Levana, what's the first thing in the Torah we know about the Levana? The Gemara says in Chulin Daf Samach Amid Beis that the Levana complained, you can't have the sun and the moon being mishtamish bekeser echad. So Hashem said, L'chi umati atzmei, it's fine, so go be mamai yourself. And that's how the moon got a lower portion than the sun. It's not as bright as the sun, and it serves only at night in the dark, and not like the sun. But originally, the sun and the moon were equal. It was Shnei Ma'oris HaGedolim. So the lesson of the moon that we learn, that the Bria learns from the way the Torah tells the story with Chazal, the story of the moon, is that when Hashem makes something in the world and Hashem gives a job to certain things, don't complain about it. Because Hashem knows better. Hashem created the world and made every nivra with a certain job. And Hashem felt that the sun and the moon should be serving as partners to light up the world. Shnei Mares HaGedolim. And the moon didn't understand that, and the moon complained that it's Efshar to be mishtamish b'keser echad, and the moon ended up suffering. The moon ended up getting punished. If that's the case on Rosh Chodesh, Dr. Shlomo Halberstam Zatzal, that Rosh Chodesh, when we think about the moon, then Korach says, oh, Moshe was right. He's coming straight from the Rabbeinu Shalom, and the Rabbeinu Shalom was right. Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes v'hein badoin. What's the pshat? Because we complained, Hashem said there's a hierarchy. Hashem said there's kahuna, that goes to Aaron, and then there's Moshe Rabbeinu, who was like a melech, and then there's the Nasi of Elitzaphan ben Uziel, and Korach didn't understand. He felt ki chala eila kulam kedoshim. And if that's the case, he complained against the way Hashem set it up in the Bria. So every Rosh Chodesh, when we see that the moon disappeared, and now we're nisayrer from that moon, b'tchilas hachodesh, so then that's the time to be inspired that the Havdalah that Hashem put in this world, and the different jobs that Hashem put for all the Nivraim in the world, that's something that has to be, because Hashem understands best, and therefore they come to that Hakaras on the night where we usher in Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, and it's also Shabbos, the Parshas Korach. I felt this was an appropriate message to give over, that on Rosh Chodesh we have to think about the downfall of Korach, that every 30 days, Kol Rosh Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh he says, Moshe emes v'sayrasai emes, which leads us to another very interesting thing, because in the response of Moshe Rabbeinu, in the very beginning of the Parsha, in Pasuk Hey, the Torah says, Vayedaber al Korach ve'al kol adosei leimar, Moshe says, Boiker in the morning, the Yoida Hashem es asher loi, ves HaKadosh v'yikrivei lov. What's Boiker? So Parshas says Rashi, because now is the time of Shichrus, we already ate and drank, it's not a good time to have this discussion. We'll wait till tomorrow when it's more appropriate to have a discussion. But Rashi says, Umidrashoy, the medrash on Boiker v'Yoida is that Moshe said to Korach, Gvulois chilek HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamai. Hashem set up gvulois, boundaries in the world. Yicholim atem lafich Boiker la'erev. Could you change morning into evening? You can't do that. There's morning, vayerev, vayivoiker. So kain tuchlu levatel azu. So too, you can't be mavatel the kahuna. The kahuna goes to Aaron and Kayin. It says vayavdal lekim ben arvin achoshech, and then it says vayerev, vayivoiker yom echad. So too, a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim vayibadel Aaron lahaktisha kodesh kadashim. Hashem separated Aaron even from all the other Leviim and made him kodesh kadashim, that there should be kahuna. So it's very fascinating. Korach is complaining against the kahuna of Aaron HaKohen and against the hierarchy, the way the Rebbeinu Shalom set it up in the Bria. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells him Boiker, that just like you can't change from Boiker to Erev, that there's a clear separation between Aaron Choshech, Boiker and Erev, so too there's a clear separation between Aaron HaKohen and the rest of the Leviim. But what's the oimek? What's the pshat over here? What's Moshe Rabbeinu telling him from Boiker and Erev? Avada, the Pasha pshat, is to show that there's Havdalah in the world. Just like Boiker and Erev are separate, so the same thing, Aaron and other people are separate. But why dafka of all separations in the world does Moshe Rabbeinu refer them to the first day of Sheishis Yimei Bereishis, the first day of the Bria, with his Vayi Erev, Vayi Voiker, Yom Echad? So I'd like to suggest the following insight, and it's based on the Shach ala Torah in Parshas Shemois by the Psukim of Dasan and Aviram, says that the story of Korach, the machlokes of Korach, happened on a Monday. He said that's the day where the machlokes of Korach started, and it's interesting, the Yom of Monday is what? Shir Mizmal Levnei Korach. So it's appropriate that on Monday, it's a Shir Mizmal V'nei Korach if the story of Korach happened on Monday. But what's special about Monday in the Bria? We know that by Monday, in the Yom Sheni, it doesn't say Ki Toiv, and the Medrash in Bereishis Rabbah, Parsha Daled, Ois Ches, brings a few different reasons why it doesn't say Ki Toiv, like it says by all the other days of the Bria. And the Medrash says, Rabbi Chanina Omer, Sheboi Nivreis Machlokes. Since on Yom Sheni, Machlokes was created, Shenemar Vihi Mavdil Bein Mayim Lamayim, there was a separation between the waters, it became the upper waters and the lower waters. So since there was a Havdalah which represents and symbolizes Machlokes, therefore it doesn't say Ki Toiv. Hashem doesn't attach the name Toiv, Ki Toiv, when there's Machlokes. Now it's interesting that Korach started his Machlokes on a day that was Mesugel for Machlokes, the day that the Bria of Machlokes happened, V'hi Mavdil B'mayim Lamayim. But the Velt asks the Kasha, that L'chayra, the Rashi just quoted a pasuk that says, Vayavdal Elikim Bein Arav and Achoshech. It's not the first time we have a Havdalah, the second day of Bereishis, and not only on the first day do we have a Havdalah, but it says Ki Toiv, Vayar Elikim Esar Ki Toiv. So how could you say that when there's a Havdalah, that's a bad thing, you can't say Ki Toiv, and Havdalah, Machlokes was Nivra B'Yom Sheni? L'chayra, we have a concept of Havdalah b'Yom Rishon, and still b'Yom Rishon it says Ki Toiv. So the obvious answer has to be that the Havdalah between day and night, between light and dark, Ar and Choshech, that's an appropriate Havdalah. That's a Havdalah Ru'uya. That's not something that's Machlokes. That represents Ar and Choshech are two different things. There's good in the Bria, there's bad in the Bria, and that's a Havdalah Ru'uya. But when there's Mayim Lamayim, two seemingly equal things, to make a Havdalah there, that's what symbolizes Machlokes. That's what symbolizes Pirud, separating two things that really should be together. And that's why the second day it doesn't say Ki Toiv, but the first day it says Ki Toiv. If that's the case, if the Shach is telling us that Korach came to argue when? B'Yom Sheni, on the second day, Shir Mizmal Levnei Korach. So it could be that Korach came with the Taina of Yom Sheni. And he says, wait a second, it doesn't say Ki Toiv in the Bria on Yom Sheni. Why? Because Havdalah is not good. V'hi Mavdil Bein Mayim Lamayim is not good. Korach comes and says, Ki chol ha'eda kulam kedoshim. Why is there separation? Why is there Aaron against everybody else? Why is he a Kayin, Kodesh Kadashim, and we're not? Kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim. We all heard on our Sinai the words of the Rebbeinu Shalom, so, and through Moshe Rabbeinu. So Kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim, Korach was saying that there should not be Havdalah, because on Yom Sheni he was inspired to say that Havdalah is not a good thing. What does Moshe Rabbeinu answer him? Boiker v'yoida, look to the Havdalah b'yom Rishon. That is Vayerev Vayivoiker, there is Havdalah, and there it does say Kitov. Why? Because when the Rebbeinu Shalom separates between two equal things, Mayim and Mayim, that symbolizes Machlokes, that's not good. But when it's two different things like Ar and Choshech, Toiv and Ra, Erev and Boiker, that's a good Havdalah. That's what Hashem wants in the Bria, that there should be Havdalahs, right? Like it says, Gvulos Chilek HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'olamai. Those boundaries, those Gvulos, those are good things. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu refers Korach v'Hadassah back to the Yom Rishon to show that there's a Havdalah. And Havdalah is not just Bein Ar LaChoshech, but Havdalah is also between Kodesh and Kodesh Kadashim. And that's the pasuk in Divrei Hayom that Rashi brings. Vayibad el Aaron, that Aaron wasn't just Kodesh like all Shevet Levi, and Kol Ha'eda Kulam Kadashim, but Aaron was Kodesh Kadashim. How do we know that a Havdalah between Kodesh and Kodesh Kadashim is appropriate? That we know from Parshas Truma, Parach Havav, pasuk Lamed Gimel, V'hivdila ha'pareiches lachem, Bein HaKodesh uvein Kodesh HaKadashim. There's a Havdalah. There's something called holiness, Kedusha, and then there's Kodesh Kadashim, and the Rebbeinu Shalom feels that there should be a Kodesh Kadashim in the world. That's a madrega that we need. If that's the case, Aaron, in the human beings, Aaron represents, and the Kahuna, that represents Kodesh Kadashim even more than Klal Yisrael, which is an Am Kodesh, L'Hashem Elokecha, but a Kohen is Kodesh Kadashim, and that's the lesson that Korach was supposed to learn. So Korach came b'Yom Sheni and said, Havdalah is a bad thing, and we taught Korach, the secret of Havdalah, the secret of Gevulos in the Bria, that you have to see that Boiker and Erev are two separate things, and that's a good thing. The Rebbeinu Shalom made a Gvul in the world. We can't be Masig Gvul. There's an Isser of Hasagas Gvul. You can't step over the boundaries that Hashem made in the Bria. And therefore Moshe referred him to Boiker v'yoida, to the Vayerev Vayivoiker. And that's really the aside of mitzvahs Havdalah. Every Matzah Shabbos, when we make Havdalah, we don't just say that Hashem is separating between Shabbos and Sheishis Yimei HaMaseh. We say that Hashem is Mavdil bein Kodesh l'chol, bein Ar l'choshech. We refer back to that Havdalah of the first day of the Bria. Bein Yisrael la'amim Klal Yisrael, to other people. We talk about all different types of Havdalahs. Why is that? Because in the beginning of the week we have to shtel avek that even though we're entering now Yemei Chol, but we appreciate the concept of Kedusha, and we appreciate the concept of Havdalah, that Hashem has separations and different groups within the world, and we understand that this Havdalah is from the Sheirashim of the Bria, and we make Havdalah, that's something that we have to realize. The Baal HaTurim really already connects. That Vayavdel Elikim Bein Ha'ar Uvein HaChoshech, in the beginning of the Torah, in Pasuk Daled, the Baal HaTurim says Vayavdel is Begematria 52, because there's 52 weeks in a year that you make Havdalah. Hamatzah Shabbos, 52 Matzah Shabbosos that you have in the year. So you see, in that first Havdalah of the world, Vayavdel Likim Be'enav V'Nachoshech, the Baal HaTurim sends us to Havdalah. They make Havdalah 52 times a year. So when a Yid makes Havdalah, we have to realize that this is understanding the opposite of Korach's claim. This is the lesson that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to teach Korach. And what's fascinating to be Moisif is the Ramah in Hilchas Havdalah. The Ramah in Hilchas Havdalah, Siman Reish Tzadi Vav, Sif Aleph, says that the minig is to pour the wine on the ground. Noyagin lishpoch mikoshal yain ala aretz. Sounds like you spill out a little bit of the wine from the kais of Havdalah onto the ground. The Taz says a little differently, and this I think is the minig of most people. The Taz in Sifkat and Aleph says that when you fill the kais of Havdalah, then you should overfill it, not in the middle of the bracha, but overfill it and let it spill onto the ground. So what's the inyan that it should be overflowing and spilling over? So the Ramah says that the reason is because of a chazal that says, Kol bayis Shaloi nishpach bo yayin kamayim, ein bo simin bracha. The greatest simin bracha is when you have yayin overflowing like water, as if the person has such bracha and yayin. So in the beginning of the week, we want to make a good simin of a shefa, of parnasa, so we pour out the wine mamish like mayim. It's kedai to see the Taz over there, totally parenthetically, but the Taz over there says a different pshat in that chazal, that yayin should be nishpach kamayim, and then you have a simin bracha, that usually when water spills in the house, people don't go so crazy, they don't get so angry, because water is not expensive. But if wine spills, then you're going to scream at the person who dropped it by mistake, but you're going to get upset because yayin is a hefsid meruba. So in the house that yayin is nishpach kemayim, when wine spills, you treat it like water and you say, okay, fine, it was a mistake, and you don't get angry, you kovish your kas, so then there's a siman bracha in the house. That's Tama Musa that the Taz says from that chazal, but the Ramah says that al kapanim, the idea of spilling over onto the ground is because you want to show the shefa of gashmias. But if you look in the Elya Rabbah there, it's kedai to look it up when you get a chance. The Elya Rabbah in Siman Reish Sadivav brings from the Matei Moshe a different reason al pi Kabbalah, that you spill not onto the plate, not onto the table, but al ha'aretz, onto the ground. Why? Titzarich litein la'adosai shel Korach chelkam, because you have to give a little bit of Havdalah to the Adas Korach. what in the world is going on? You have to give a little bit to Korach. So Vaistais, you have to spill it on the Aretz, according to this, because Vatiftach Aretz is Pia, so in the ground is Korach, hopefully not under your dining room floor, but Lamaisa, that's the Aretz that's represented there, so therefore you pour it onto the Aretz, because Shetzarech Litein La'adasei Shel Korach Chelkam. Now of course, there's inyanim of Kabbalah here that are beyond our understanding exactly what it means to give a little bit of the Havdalah for Adasei Shel Korach, but at least at Tchilas Dvarim, maybe we could understand, based on this Rashi of Boiker v'Yoida, that the message to Korach was Havdalah, that there's Havdalah in the Bria. Don't think Yichalei de Kulam Kedoshim. It's true that we're all Kaddish, but within that Kedusha, there's Kodesh and there's Kodesh Kadashim. There's all different levels of Kedusha, there's all different levels of Yidden, all different levels of Nivram in the Bria, Vayerev Vayivoiker. You can't be Mahapich Boiker to Erev and Erev to Boiker, so you can't be Mahapich the Havdalahs and the Gvulos that Hashem said in the Bria. When we make Havdalah, Bein Or L'Choshech, Bein Yisrael La'amim, Bein Yem HaShvil L'Sheish Tzmei HaMaseh, who do we want to give a taste to in the beginning of the week? The inyan of Havdalah, Dasei Shel Korach. We give him a little bit because he has to learn the lesson. Now, of course, this is an interesting insight in terms of this minig, and in terms of the Shakla V'Tarya B'chlal between Moshe and Korach, but most people today are not getting up and screaming against the Gadol Adar and screaming against the Gvulos of the Rabbeinu Shalom. But in a subtle way, we have to be sure that we're not nichshal with the mindset, with the ideology of Korach, because sometimes we get frustrated. Why did Hashem choose to give that person a higher position of leadership than me? I could have probably done a better job than him. Why does that person have a better parnasa? Why does that person have a better family? Why does that person have more talents than me? There's Havdalis in the Bria. Everyone has their job. Everyone has their talents that the Rabbeinu Shalom gave them. And when someone says, I want to have that, besides the Aveira of Kina, besides the terrible Midah of wanting what someone else has, but it's a certain level of Kfira, of following the Adas Korach and saying, Ki chala eda kulam kedoshim, that it should all be the same. Why should there be Havdalah? One of the essential Nekudos of the Bria is that there is Havdalah, that there's a differentiation, there's different people, there's different Bruim, everyone has their job, and that's something that's an important lesson to learn from Parshas Korach. So let's try to learn these two lessons from the story of Korach v'Adasai. First of all, how important it is to have good neighbors and to hang around good people. Oy l'Rasha, oy l'Shchenoi was the downfall of Dasan v'Aviram, v'Oin ben Peles, b'nei Ruvain. Toiv l'tzadik, toiv l'shchenoi should be our motto, that we try to hang around good people and people that will be a good hashpah to ourselves and to our families. The people we daven next to, the people we hang around with, should be people that have fallen to the category of tzadik, that we can be mekayim toiv l'tzadik, toiv l'shchenoi. And secondly, the secret of Havdalah, to understand that Korach thought that within the Eidah of Kulam Kedoshim, it doesn't pass to have Havdalah. Havdalah is something that's not a good thing, like it sounded like from Yom Sheni. And Moshe Rabbeinu's response that no, on Yom Sheni you're mechalik between two equal things, Mayim and Mayim. That's a Havdalah that's not Ki Toiv. But the Havdalah of Boiker and Erev, the Havdalah between Kodesh and Kodesh Kadashim, and all the Havdalahs and Gvulos that Hashem separates in the Bria, between men and women, between people with different jobs and different positions of leadership, as we mentioned before, those are all things that we have to accept and we have to embrace and realize the chashivas of these things in the Bria, and hopefully then every Chodesh and every day will be inspired to the lesson of Moshe Emes v'Seirasai Emes throughout our lives.